Okay. We'll call the Redevelopment Commission meeting to order. Our roll call, Bob Buchan, Richard Wertz here, BJ Deputy, Paul Viewing here, Keith Fox here, Danny Ball here. We have a quorum. Need a motion for the minutes. Second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Chris has alerted me, and we have Fred Harris here, and there's a request on our parking lot across from the triple play for some activity, and Kristen, would you explain?
Sure. We have a request from Fred Harris in partnership with Dixie's Boys Bulldog Rescue for an event on October 22nd, starting at 5 p.m., ending at 10 p.m. They're hosting an event. They want to use the south part of the Jefferson Street lot, the new part of the parking lot. And it looks like they would have a band, beer garden, food tents, and the proceeds would be going to Dixie's Boys Bulldog Rescue, and then restroom facilities would be used at Triple Play at the Pavilion. So this was heard last night at the Board of Works for the noise variance, to have the outdoor band and that sort of thing, and that got approved. So there's some insurance requirements and things like that that I still need to get copies of, but Fred's here if you have questions about that.
I thought I had the insurance certificate attached to the application, but if I don't, our insurance carrier's already provided it as per the city requirements. And one of our customers had asked if we would help them with the Bulldog Rescue fundraiser. It might be the only night all year that the city or somebody else doesn't already have a festival planned, I think, because it seems like it's a festival every week anymore. But we don't know all the details yet. We just know that they have 2 police officers that have volunteered to be there for security. They've got a couple of other groups that might be joining us. Anybody that does would have to have their certificates of insurance. And like she said, it's just on the new parking lot down there. We provide any of our own power we need. We don't need any water or anything like that out there because we got a building across the street for restrooms and everything. So that's, I guess this Bulldog Rescue thing is a big event to some of these people. We're just offering to help them if we can.
Fred, will construction present any issue for you?
I don't think so. If everything goes right, I'm hoping that they'll pretty much, number one, has the construction been difficult to deal with in some regards? Yes, but our business is down some. But as far as being able to get to our building, they've done a phenomenal job of keeping our building accessible. It's just teaching the public how to get to it. So by that time, most of the road base, I'm guessing, at least the stone will probably be down by the 21st of October, I hope. And so far, there have been no issues with them keeping crosswalks open to us. So I don't think it'll be an issue.
We do, there's just a couple other things too that I'm not sure that Kim or you are aware that, we need to get worked out as far as the entertainment permit through the state, and there's just some
Yes.
different festival things.
Entertainment and alcohol permits both if we go with those 2 items.
Okay, so I can get with you or Kim and we'll try to work through those as well.
I would move to approve the variance based on the contingencies here being taken care of.
Thank you. We have a motion for a second. We have a second from Paul. All in favor? Aye. Okay, Fred.
Thank you.
Okay, now we'll jump back into old business. With no other business, we'll move to new business. The HWC Engineering Supplemental Contract Amendment Number 2.
Thank you and good morning, gentlemen. This is pertaining to the King Street in Paris Drive or bypass improvements. As we were working through right-of-way acquisition, one of the property owners, it was a very influx negotiation. And going into the project, this was the owner that was included in all of the pre-development, pre-design meetings. It certainly was and still is very supportive. But we weren't clear how that relationship was going to work as it pertained to right-of-way acquisition. This is where the fairly lengthy development agreement that you all have agreed to and the Board of Works has agreed to. We, along the way, because of permanent and temporary right-of-way, there were some additional legal and professional surveyor fees that were associated with that. The total amount is $6,330 and in reality, the total contract is $2 million something because it includes all the way back to Eastview Drive. But this is something that we weren't clear up front, but as we progressed through, it was apparent it was necessary. It's done. That's the end of it. The right of way is been acquired. We're obviously working on it. We're moving impatiently, I will be honest, towards a roundabout open date here by the end of the month.
Any other questions?
We ought to approve the resolution under that first, item 5B, resolution 2016-30B.
Okay, we need a vote. Resolution 2016-30B, supplemental contract amendment number 2 with HWC Engineering. Resolution 2016-30B. Need a motion to read by title only. Someone need a second? Second. Thank you. It's open for a public meeting or comments. Any questions?
Is this all engineering survey, not acquisition costs?
Correct. This is professional services.
Need a motion to approve. So moved. Have a motion, need a second. Have a second. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Okay, now we'll move back up to A, and need a motion to approve the contract. So moved. I have a motion, second. Second? Yeah. Okay. We have a second. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Thank you. Okay, now we're moving to Resolution 2016-31, South Main Street Reconstruction Project.
Thank you, Mr. Wirtz. I believe this board is aware at this point, but I'll reiterate. South Main Street is the final leg remaining in our gateways and greenways planning study that was commissioned by this board several years ago. This is the project that we applied for federal funding assistance in last year's MPO call. We've been successful in receiving that funding for this project. We've received $1.432 million. The scope of this project is from the South Main Street Bridge all the way to US 31. There's a little bit of a difference in a specific break point from the bridge to Champ Ulysses. The design and construction will be very similar with what you've seen on North Main Street and what you will continue to see on Jefferson. So the decorative lights, the additional and extra width sidewalks. In that section, we have some on-street parking that will continue to provide for some of the monuments, that type of element. from Champion Ulysses to 31, the project will change a little bit. That road is in a lowland area, it's in a floodplain, it's obviously not developed, nor likely will it ever be as it's in a floodplain. So the scope will change. We will rebuild the road and improve that, but we will not have sidewalks on both sides. We'll have a 10-foot trail on one side, and then there will be a modest gateway element proposed and constructed at 31. Probably at minimum similar to the 8 foot tall or so monuments that you've seen at the North Main Roundabout, and probably a ground mounted sign type of thing with some landscaping and lighting the entire way. This contract or this resolution pertains to a contract from Crossroad Engineers that the Board of Works has agreed to, subject to funding from this board in the amount of $402,000. That includes all pre-construction related activities, professional engineering, design, layout, and environmental studies, up to right-of-way acquisition, which as we're aware and accustomed to, that's not necessarily known up front until the bulk of the design is completed. So there would be a supplement to this at some point, and there will be some substantial right-of-way. I think I neglected total cost of the construction. This equates roughly to about a 50-50 match. The road reconstruction aspect we will be funding in-house. It's going to be somewhere between $1 and $1.4 million. All of the remainder will achieve the 80-20 match for the pedestrian enhancements and such. So same formula we've done on other applications. It's proven well for us, and it was successful again.
What is it under total cost?
Total cost for construction is probably 2.5 to 2.8, and 1.4 of that is federal.
So the request of pre-construction, engineering and construction,
In the professional services, we've got 400.
is the engineering included in 2.5?
No, sir.
So we're getting toward the end of the year, so we ought to think about making this automatically income burden into the next year. So I would recommend that you amend this resolution in paragraph 2, the first sentence, so that we specifically name Crossroad Engineers. I think that will write as well.
What did you say about paragraph
First sentence, paragraph 2.
2? Oh, okay. Certain Crossroad have the general contractors, et cetera.
So will there be an additional request then when the project is bid for construction costs as well?
There will be. We would try to do that in advance of the bid by several months. But this federal funding is 2020 or 2021? 21, I'm pretty sure. We're getting ready to apply for 2022 funding. So we've got substantial effort and design to establish that number. We'll keep you apprised of where that's at as time goes by, but that probably wouldn't be an appropriation until at the earliest 2019.
So I think the procedure would be a motion and a second to amend the resolution.
So moved.
Second. All in favor of the motion? Aye. Okay. We will open this to a public meeting on resolution 2016-31. Any comments? Okay, we need a motion to approve resolution 2016-31. So moved. We have a motion and a second, all in favor? Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. If I could, just a quick comment to add, I think several of you have already heard. The city did receive $1 million in road funding for projects separate from the RDC's purview, so certainly we're looking for opportunities outside of your generosity, and we were fortunate to get some of that this past year. Thank you.
Congratulations on your work for that. Okay, Shell building update, Kristen.
Yes, we just wanted to report that we did meet to try to kind of outline the moving pieces of this project. We had several of the different partners at the table and looked at the site itself to try to discuss the options of where the entrance drive could be located, whether on the north end or the south end. There was some consensus that we would try to work with the property owner to the south if they would be interested in doing so, to share that drive. At that point, we are still waiting for some of the preliminary site designs and things like that. So I don't know, Chris, do you have an update for us today that you want to?
Chris King from Bond Construction. No real update at this point, other than we have been out survey, happened last week on the site, so we should be coming up with some concepts for everyone to review here in the real near term. So continuing to work through this issue, and just appreciate everybody's cooperation and sitting down talking about it and trying to work through it. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Is it now legal to settle on, let's say,
It has not been settled on, but it is close to that 14, 15 acre range that we talked about previously. It will be decided once we're able to get this determination of where the drive is. That's going to drive our site layout and ultimately how much acres we need.
Do you have do you know when we might expect those plans to be submitted?
I honestly would think here in the next couple of weeks we'll have good information for the survey that we can begin to work with. So all that stuff was collected, should have been collected last week, and I'll just confirm if that is the case. And once we have that data, we should be able to come up with some concepts for everybody to take a look at.
Well, as soon as you get those, please forward them, and Chris can get them to us.
Okay.
Anything else on the Shell building?
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving to the 55 West Madison Street. Krista?
We have received, as required by the Indiana Code, we have hired 2 different appraisal services to conduct appraisals of that property. Those appraisals have been received. You've been forwarded copies of those. And at this point, I think that we're, as a commission, we're ready to decide the process for which we want to handle the either retaining ownership or the disposition of offering this property for sale. It's ready to go in that regard. If you're interested, the last several times we've dealt with these types of issues, we've put out requests for proposals to accept from anyone that has an interest in the property, including, some details of how they would use the property, what they would pay for the property, those types of things. And I would like to suggest that we follow that process again this time. I can work with Rob to put together an updated version of the request for offers and get that out to the general public. And then it would be up to you when you would want to receive those proposals, if you would want a presentation from anyone that's interested in submitting one, if you'd like to schedule a special meeting maybe to go over and handle just that topic, we could do that. And then, I think in the past, we've also kind of established a subcommittee that has reviewed those in depth and kind of vetted those and come back to the full commission with a recommendation, so.
Thank you. Just for the public record, the two appraisals came in.
Can I stop you? I'm sorry, but we're supposed to keep those confidential.
The assessed value.
No, the assessed value is not.
The assessed valuation on that property came at $190,000 plus or minus, and I believe the RDC invested approximately $250,000 in renovation of the property. Just so you have an update. And I agree with Krista. The past, the RFPs will be the appropriate way to advertise this property and request to see what could be used and what the value might be.
Rob, if I recall the process, we put it out if we did not get a number or project that's acceptable for the appraisals, then we're free to dispose of it as we see fit.
And I would propose to bring a resolution back to the assessed value on the rest of
Do we need that resolution in order to put it out now, or can we proceed with it out?
it. I think we could put it out in a soft, informal way, but I think we do need the resolution on all of this.
So that resolution will be at our next meeting, and we can go ahead and Krista could let it be known that we are interested in disposing of the property.
So would there be a set time frame for those to be received? And then at that point, you had talked about it, there would be one form, some form of committee that those sort of those.
I think we should. Typically that's how we've handled it kind of in the past, and whether we meet one-on-one with those proposals, the applicants that have submitted, or we conduct a special meeting for them to give a brief presentation, and then we kind of have some time for question and answers. But, just trying to keep the process moving as far as, if we have to have the resolution, then, we could schedule something for the week following or something like that. But we could get the request for proposals out there so that they could start working on those and knowing what we're looking for to keep it, within a 30 to 60 day process.
I think last time, did we have a special meeting and let it present?
Yes. And I think that works well. I mean, it gives you all a chance to ask questions, and then that subcommittee can follow up with any additional, checking of references and things like that, so.
And obviously at this point, I think it's important for us to be thorough in our investigation of what we do with that.
Yes.
I would agree. Any other comments on the property? So it's a consensus then to move forward without Krista to start the process. Bring a resolution forward for the next meeting. Anything else on that? Okay. Moving to other business. The first point of business is to rescind resolution 2015-24, and then we'll address how that's, the $2 million is being dispensed in other projects.
So if you'll recall, in 2015, when we first started allocating funds from the 2015 TIF bond, there was a blanket $2 million resolution that was passed through resolution 15-24B, and that was $2 million that was set aside for downtown redevelopment projects. And as a commission, as we went through and identified those projects specifically, there were 4 additional resolutions that were passed, naming those projects individually. So there was 26-10, 2016-12, 2016-15, and 2016-21 all B, because they came out of the bond. And so what that in essence has done is created duplication of those funds. So in our accounting, in the clerk's office, it actually looks like there's been $4 million set aside for downtown projects, when in fact our intent was just to set aside the 2 million, but what we had done is individually authorize those projects by individual resolution. And so what I'm asking for you, just kind of as a housekeeping item, is to rescind that original resolution 2015-24B, just to kind of clean that up, and so that it doesn't look like through our books that we have more allocated towards downtown projects than we had intended. Yes, please.
Can we move on all four of those together, or?
We have to rescind first.
Okay.
So move on the rest.
The other ones have already been approved, we don't need
Okay.
to even, I just attached those so that you could see what resolutions have replaced the original one. So really we just need the first resolution rescinded and then nothing else.
Can I make that motion? So moved.
Have a motion, second. Have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Just for the record, could you read the amounts and what they are?
I can, if you haven't put it off, I don't, yeah, I can pull them up, but. 16-10B, okay. So 16-10B was $350,000 for, it was a grant to the Franklin Development Corporation. And this was in regards to the property that was purchased and rehabbed at 351 East Jefferson Street. Resolution 16-12B was $375,000 towards the rehabilitation and repair of 57 North Main Street, which is the Art Craft Theater. Resolution 16-15B was appropriating $1.4 million towards the garment factory and Wayne Street reconstruction project. And then 2016-21B was the authorizing and the offer to purchase the property on Wayne Street, 45, 49, 51, and 55 East Wayne Street. So those have all been completed.
Thank you. The August 2016 financial report.
That's brought up. So this shows, under your description of receipts, this shows the property tax distribution that was received. It also shows your interest earned on deposited balances through the end of August. NDOT reimbursements that have been received. I wanted to also point out, at your last meeting, we appropriated $1 million towards the water main for Indiana American. We have expended those funds and been reimbursed those funds. So that process is complete. There was also another $112,000 that was received on the Johnson County South Main Street Bridge and Bank Maintenance Project. Those were received. And then when we went through the closing with Old Post Brew Pub on 55 West Madison Street, that $3,000 to cover the taxes was received back from Mr. Warburg and put into escrow. So we did receive that to cover the tax bill when we receive that next year. So below there, you just have updated what resolutions have been approved and what has been spent. So that leaves you with your receipts at the top and your remaining cash balance estimated at the end of the year at $7.5 million. Are there any questions?
Just for the RDC, I think the mayor has spoken to most of us, but the fire truck has been ordered, and we're looking at the account 399 capital fund investments of $400,000 to assist with the purchase of the fire truck. I see he's already there. Any other comments on the financial report? Okay. The TIP fund financial report.
This shows you an update of all of the TIP projects that have been approved, also by resolution number, and you can see what has been added at the bottom was the most recent resolution that I mentioned earlier, we had appropriated $1,350,000 for Indiana American. It was a little bit higher than what actually got spent. So that $944,000 was spent, but it has been reimbursed to us. So you can see what has been spent out of the TIF bond to date, $5.9 million. And then what has been appropriated, and then your balance remaining is the $278,000.
Any question on the TIF bond? Okay, move to the cash flow worksheet.
There's not a lot new to report on here. The only thing that was added from your last meeting was the South Main Street. I put that as the project under consideration here at the bottom, the $402,500 that was approved today. So that was the only thing additional that was to come out of this fund. The other resolution that was approved today was through the bond, and so that wouldn't show up on this cash flow analysis. And I think that's all for this one this time. There was not a lot of change on this report. And there are copies provided in the audience. I know this is extremely hard to read, so.
Any comments? Okay, public comments.
I just had a quick question to ask on the old post office project. I know you had to order appraisals and were paid for with public funds. I know when you put it out for proposals, that it'll have to bring, I can't remember, it's been a while since I was in office, but it's a certain percentage of that appraisal has to bring before you can consider an offer. It's 85 or 95%. So my question is obviously is why that appraisal number is not being released, or if a public request will get that appraisal released.
There's a statute that says we're to keep it confidential.
How does that make any sense at all? So you're saying public is,
You expect the legislature to make sense.
well, I know in the past we always made it public so we know what kind of offer we can receive.
And the offering, I believe the last time we did this, the average, it wasn't, correct me if I'm wrong, Rob, but the average of the two appraisals
That's our offer.
is the number that the request will go out. That is our offering.
So that will come out when your request, it'll be next to those two.
Yes, it will.
So, okay, thank you.
Yes, I'd like, on behalf of Discover Downtown, thank RDC for the use of the parking lot this past year for the farmers market. Thank you very much.
And we appreciate you being there. It's a great
Great year.
project.
Thank you.
Any?
Tom Schultz with Franklin Heritage, the Art Theater. We wanted to thank the city and the Redevelopment Commission for allowing us to use the post office building as part of our home tour this past weekend. It was the largest and most successful home tour we have had we've been doing it since the early 1980s. And so a lot of folks appreciated being able to go into not only the post office, but the garment factory building that show kind of what is coming, up and coming here in Franklin. So again, thanks to the mayor and to all of you folks for allowing us to do that, because I think we had people from all of the surrounding communities, Columbus, Greenwood, Martinsville, you name it. Parkersville, thank you. I'm in late. But everybody to a person was just very impressed with what Franklin has done. And so they couldn't say enough good things about it. And the thing we heard most was we're thinking about moving to Franklin. There's a lot of folks who don't have to be in any specific location, but because Franklin is so up and coming and seeing so many projects, more people are thinking about trying to get a house, and this is the phrase they use, close to all of the action. So they want to be around the festivals, they want to be around the downtown. And so it's just nice to be able to be there and hear that from these folks unsolicited. So again, thank you for that. And then I will give you a quick update on the where we are with the HVAC here. Probably towards the end of this month, we should have all of the last bits of the engineering work done. They have actually connected up the furnaces and the heating element of everything. And so, and we're up with refrigerant lines through the roof of the building. So we're getting ever closer to being able to close that whole project down. And again, we thank you for that.
Thank you, Rob. Can you tell us how many people were there? I know Friday I heard it was a record, or Saturday, it was a record even with the weather.
Had it not been for the weather on Saturday, I think we probably would have gone over 1,000 people. But we had 853 folks go through the doors. It's on a visual, still counting some of the tickets and stuff, but that's an amazing amount of people to come downtown. And I mean, when you were downtown, you could see people walking everywhere, Saturday and Sunday. I know it helped a lot of the businesses that were downtown because I know the restaurants were hopping too. So, yeah, it was great weekend.
Thank you.
I just wanted to remind all of you, I think it was on your agenda at the last month's meeting regarding the internal controls webinar. You know, that's at the top of everyone's list and exciting 22 minutes of your life. But I do need for you to follow through with that and sign those forms and get those back to me so I can get those to the clerk treasurer's office, please.
Thank you. Yes, we have another one.
Yes, before you conclude, we have the bicentennial celebration this Friday from 5 to 10 p.m. Live music, the torch reception will go on, and we'll recognize all the torch bearers and nominees. It's a Johnson County event, so every single community in the county will be represented, and it's been an awesome collaboration.
Thank you.